Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to viewers from all over the world about their book, about their process. How did they get published? How did they write a book? How did they finish writing a book? We have so many questions, so we've been bringing in people who have done it, who've been successful at what we're all trying to do. And I want to introduce, here's the book we're going to talk about. It's called Awe, and we're going to find out what that means in a moment, because not only do I have the book cover, I have the author, Pierre R. Schwob, with us. Welcome, Pierre.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Tell our viewers what that stands for, Awe.
Well, AWE stands for Artificial Wisdom Engine. The book is centered on AI, climate change, fake news, but AWE is basically an acronym for what the heroes have built to win the day.
To win the day. And also, you mentioned fake news. This AWE device or program or intelligence is able to kind of help sort out the fake news.
Indeed, that's actually why they develop it in the first place. Yeah. And then eventually it's used for other things, such as finding solution to climate change and other things.
Yeah, and our viewers, they didn't get my joke that I asked you before we came on there. Is this fiction or not fiction? Because it sure sounds like things that are going on in our world right now.
Well, right now it's still fiction.
It's still fiction, thank goodness. We'll have you back next week and ask you the same question. Well, here's the cover. Tell our viewers a little bit about the book.
Well, I decided to start writing the book, or thinking about writing the book, about 6 or 7 years ago, when the U.S. dropped out of the Paris Agreement, which I thought was possibly a mistake. Yes. I think we should take climate change very seriously. It is going to create major problems for many around the world, and particularly those who actually do not emit greenhouse gases. So that was the first impetus. The other thing was I started to write the book and thinking about the book before ChatGPT even existed. Mm-hmm. But I thought, because of my connections with Stanford, I am very involved with the physics department and their use of AI to sort through data very quickly, that AI possibly would have a role in solving issues. And again, that was before ChatGPT. So, as I said, the book is fiction now, but it might not be fiction tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm very concerned with climate change, and also very concerned with fake news. Back then, you could see more and more issues in social media where people were overwhelmed by erroneous data. And I think we can't solve any problem unless we have good data. We have to have facts in order to find good solutions.
I've been saying this out loud. I think it's important to say it out loud because I was a climate change doubter myself a few years ago until I really realized the climate has changed. It's not if it's changed, it literally changed. And it's very apparent now. And it's something we should be talking about all the time. And I'm glad you're writing this book about it. Anyway, Pierre, who's going to read this book? It's called a technothriller, by the way.
Yeah, I personally do not read fiction all that much. I read mostly history and science. But the kind of fiction that I do enjoy are technothrillers. Mm-hmm. So I decided to use that genre to communicate the ideas that I had. And it's easy to create really bad villains and very good guys when you use a technothriller. And that is why I decided that, and also because, in fact, I think that without good science, we are not going to find good solutions. Right. And the respect for the rigor of science is something that should be communicated, particularly to the young crowd, but also to elected officials.
Yes. I've heard somebody recently talking about science is that you have to get your science, prove your science, and then publish it in peer-reviewed journals, and that's where we get science and academia and scholarship. But now it's social media where people are getting their facts.
Yes, and that's very dangerous. I don't have a problem at all. In fact, it's central to science that you question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every result that you receive,
Right.
you question. You have to be a skeptic, but you can't. And being a skeptic is actually a good thing. When you receive bad data, you should be able to sort it out and eliminate it from your inventory in your brain, right?
Yes. Yes. But people these days, of course, we've never had so much social media as we have now, and it's so much more accessible. From it used to be just for young people, but now, you know, my parents up to 90 years old are on social media reading and believing everything they read. So, and the algorithms deliver them what they want to hear also. So that's amazing. It's amazing time, things we're going through.
Yeah, so we are both blessed and cursed in this country, in the U.S., because we have the First Amendment, which allows you to say anything you want. Whereas in Europe, they also have freedom of press, but they have guardrails. And I think we do need some guardrails here as well. Unfortunately, the social media companies, the big ones, are loath to limit the fake news, because every click, you know, gives them a return, financial return.
I see.
So it's a difficult battle, and that is one of the reasons why I thought that all could illuminate this issue.
Yeah. Speaking of social media and clicks and stuff, I'm just kind of catching up and realizing that if the social media sells somebody an ad, they get to tell them exactly how many people saw the ad, the age, the demographic of the person. It's just an amazing time, and you know, it is a little out of control. I don't know if it will ever be reined in.
I personally don't have an opinion one way or the other on the metrics that follows people clicks. Personally, I enjoy the fact that Amazon, for example, knows what I'm interested in. So I don't have to wade through a ton of different things, and they present things to me that I am probably more interested in than others. So it actually it works in my favor as a shopper. But there are definitely some privacy concerns that need to be addressed and considered.
Yes. Well, especially for me, you know, I make my living reading and buying and reviewing books and talking about books, and man, Amazon really helps narrow things down for me a lot. I'll tell you something else that narrows down things for me. I'm going to put your cover back up again, and there's these stickers across the top, awards you've received for the book. Now,
yes, I don't have I can't see your screen, but
we have that.
I was very happy to receive the bestseller on Amazon.
Nice.
And I have these other 3 badges here. I could put more, but then the whole cover would disappear.
Well, since there's millions of books out there, and I'm always having to make a choice, this helps me choose. I mean, somebody's recognized the book and noticed it and said it's worthy of notice, and you know, it just helps me narrow it down and pick the books. In fact, I think that's how my crew might have found you, or something like that. But tell us a little more what happens in this book. I'm fascinated by the story.
So it starts with a big Japanese magnate who builds humongous ships, amongst other things, and he has this ambition to build a space elevator. It's basically a thin thread of carbon nanotubes that goes up to space, to a space station, and it rotates with the Earth, so that you can use an engine attached to this thread to go up and down very inexpensively. So it becomes very inexpensive to launch stuff in space, stuff and people. But he wants to know, where should I plant that thing on the equator? It has to be on the equator, obviously, as it turns with the Earth. But the equator is around the Earth, so he charges a think tank in Palo Alto called the Palo Alto Research Institute, which is where my heroes live, to create a climate model that will tell them what is the safest place on the equator to build this space elevator. So first of all, they have to find the experts to actually build that model, that simulation of the climate, And that's where there is some very interesting research going on, and finally the discovery of a super brilliant, very young Chinese American girl born in Louisiana, who is 21, hasn't gone to college, but who is an absolute genius in mathematics.
Wow.
And she becomes a very important part of the story. Anyway, they build a model, they run the model, and to their big surprise, the model tells them that climate is going to actually hit a non-recoverable point in only 4.5 years.
Wow.
Much sooner than we had expected, which in our case, currently we think maybe 30 or 40 years from now, we could be in dire strait. But the model says, no. There are other things that contribute to the acceleration of the climate change. And 4.5 years from now, it's game over. So they go back to the Japanese magnates and tell them, unfortunately, it's pointless to build that thing because we're going to run into this climate change wall. So they ask him for support and say, well, now our mission has changed. We have to educate the world and find solutions. And one of the solutions, which is very close to my heart, is the fact that you have to have international collaboration in order to solve global problem.
Yep.
So that's a very important theme of the book, where eventually they even enroll the help of Xi Jinping in China, in Beijing. I've lived at various places in the world. I was born in LA, so when you called me Peter at first, you were actually correct, as I was born Peter. But then when I was about 1 year old, I don't remember, I moved with my family to Geneva, Switzerland, where I grew up. And that's why I have a French accent. I didn't speak English. And then I came back to the States in 1973. I had to learn English.
Yeah.
And eventually in 1986, I moved to Hong Kong for 12 years.
Boy.
And I used to go to China quite a bit, visiting places and friends. And so I picked up a little bit of Chinese.
Nice.
I even got married in Hong Kong, and then came back here when Hong Kong reverted to China in 1997. But instead of moving back to New York, I moved here in Palo Alto because I wanted to be close to Stanford and in Silicon Valley. Yeah. So that's why I brought in the Chinese in the book, because it's an area I know well. And I used to commute also from Hong Kong to Japan, to Tokyo, almost every month.
Wow.
Because I used to license some of my inventions to the big manufacturers of radios in Japan, the
Amazing.
Sony, Matsushita, etc.
So your accent is mixed from all of those. Little Chinese, a little Japanese, and French, and English, of course.
So I just, if you allow me, I just want to say that the book has just been released as an audible book, an audio book.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting for me to find a voice, a narrator, who could not only have perfect diction in English, because some of the material is a little bit complex.
Yes.
If you care to go into the nitty-gritty, but also I have many people who have different accents, and I was looking for an actor who would be able to do all these accents very fluently and clearly. And I was very, very lucky to find this fellow on the East Coast, Jordan Kilgore, who's a award-winning narrator. Even though my book was only his third book that he narrated, but it just received yesterday. I got a review for the first time on that audible book, and it's great. It's 5 stars. So very, very, very happy with that.
Yeah, I enjoy many audio books, and I'm amazed when the good narrator, when they're speaking for a woman, their voice changes and different accents, and a good narrator really makes the audiobook. And by the way, because I'm not young anymore, I told you I read your first book in 1976, How to Use a Handheld Calculator. So I'm that old that I don't see so well anymore, and I have to read so many books, and I get so much more mileage out of those audiobooks. I appreciate you did that. And Doctor, I want to call you Dr. Schwob, Pierre Schwob.
No, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
I taught at university, computer science, actually several universities, but I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't have any degree whatsoever. except high school.
Nice, nice. But you seem so much smarter than all of us with multiple degrees. Amazing thing about the techno-thriller, and they're signaling me we've gone way over time, but you're too fascinating to let you go so quickly. It's really science fiction, the book, but you're able to, because your background experience and knowledge of physics and things like that, you're able to suspend the disbelief and make us believe these things can really happen.
Actually, I don't think I go into science fiction there. Everything that I write about is actually something that exists or could exist today.
Could exist, yeah.
Yes.
Could exist. That's what's amazing. Pierre, we're way beyond time. I just want to give you a minute or two, or as long as you want to take, to say anything else you want to say about the book or about the world, anything you want to tell our viewers.
Well, I very much appreciate the time you're giving me. I'm very gratified that the book became a bestseller on Amazon, but the reviews that I'm getting are very heartwarming, because people actually appreciate not only reading an exciting story, but also learning some things that are actually important, I think. Yeah. And again, I mentioned climate change and AI, and the fact that you need good science, being a skeptic, and the value of international collaboration.
Yeah, international collaboration, yeah. Good luck on all of it. I don't mean for you, I mean for the world. I hope we can get to that point. And I hope this book it's I know it's a fiction, but I hope maybe it could help move everybody a step closer to where we need to be.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. I want to invite you back anytime you want to come. You're a fascinating guest, and you're a great storyteller, and I'm very anxious to get your book. I'm going to do the Audible. I'll do the Audible right away as soon as it's out. Is it out yet?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, very good.
It is. Yeah.
And for our viewers, I say this every once in a while. Go wherever you order your books, but don't click once to order this book. Click 5 times or 10 times. Order 10 copies of it. This would be a fun book to give away, because it's a thought-provoking book, and I think a very timely book, too.
Hear, hear.
All right, Pierre. Thank you for your time. And again, I hope you
you
come back again and again. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We will be back with another author right after this.
Thank you.